Hey, this is Aaron at Power Popaholic, and today I am talking with Tamar Berk, and she has a new album out called "Start at the End." How you doing today,
Yes,
Tamar?
I'm great. And it's actually Tamar. Just
Tamar. Okay,
Tamar.
thank you.
You got it. You
Thank
got
you.
it.
So I was listening to this album, and you kind of I went down the wormhole, listened to your last album, which was pretty cool. I really like the approach. When I was reviewing your album, I basically gave it, you fall somewhere in between Liz Phair and Suzanne Vega. You sort of fall in the middle there, as far as your sound and your style a little bit.
Yes, I've
And I
heard
wanted
that.
to know, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about how you got started in music. Tell me a little bit. Give me a mini bio.
Okay, mini bio is I was always taking piano lessons as a child. I think a lot of our generation were forced to take piano lessons. I mostly learned by ear. I couldn't really get into the reading of the notes. It just took too much time for me. I was like, I would ask the piano teacher to play the song. And because both of my sisters were playing piano, I was hearing those songs a lot in the house. And I was the youngest.
Right.
So eventually I just kind of figured out how to learn music by listening. And I was really fascinated with minuets and how the counterpoint stuff in music was. And I do remember, it's very odd that this just recently came up, but I do remember writing a little minuet when I was like 10.
Wow.
And I wish I still had that, not on paper, just in my mind. So and then I became a dancer, actually. I became a ballerina. And so you can imagine that I'm listening to all kinds of different music, mostly classical.
Yeah.
But growing up prior to that, I had a collection and it was obsessively into Disney soundtracks. And I'm talking about classic Disney.
Right.
So you might foretell or foresee the future in pop because, I was constantly writing songs and constantly had Disney in my head. So there's like that sort of gives me this foundation for catchy songs.
Right.
And then I bought my first guitar. I grew up in Cleveland and I wanted to learn how to play an instrument that was portable. I just felt like I want to write songs and I want to be able to like take it with me to this, to the dance studio and like be able to do that stuff portably. So I spent my own money. I don't even remember what store it was in downtown Cleveland, bought a guitar, acoustic guitar, and started writing songs. I mean, what happened is I really, really loved like the Edie Brickell thing. And I felt like with my guitar, I could do that. So that was like the first album I heard where I was like, wow, this is really cool. And she's got a cool voice. And that was like the beginning of the inspiration.
Right.
And then what started to slowly happen is I continued to write songs, but no intention of being in a band, no intention of putting anything out. And then I moved to Chicago after I graduated college. And it's such a great music town. And then I heard Exile in Guyvo. And I was like, okay, what just happened to my brain? I mean, because I stood there, not just because I related as a human, as a woman, all that, but musically, even the way she played her electric guitar was very similar to me, kind of weird chords, weird chord progressions, different, wasn't typical. And I was like, oh my God, I and so I just was determined, like, I'm going to do this too. And so from there, my first band, Starball, which was a Chicago-based kind of pop rock band, kind of formed. And I would say from that point on, I was in so many bands, like too many to count. But that was the first one that I was in the front.
Right.
And then beyond that, I was guesting, I was playing keys, I was playing bass, I was playing guitar in lots of different projects after Starball ended, in Chicago and in Portland, Oregon. And then when I moved here, in the back of my mind, I had been determined to put a solo record out, but it's very scary to use your name. Like, it's like very vulnerable But I had this collection of songs that I was like, I really like these songs. I feel like there's something here. And so during the pandemic, I sort of rethought how I could do this and did the Restless Dreams of Youth over the wire with Matt Walker, who lives in Chicago, who played drums,
Right.
and Chris Davies, who's is a guitar player who lives here, and Sean O'Keefe mixed it. Matt Thompson helped me engineer some, and that was like the dream team. And Restless Dreams of Youth came out, and then what happened, Aaron, is that the record was surprisingly like people liked it and
Well,
like got
record.
got a lot of reviews and
Yeah.
and people were like really digging it. So I was like, oh shit, and then sort of what happened is I was excited to like write. I almost like inspired myself. Okay, I'm going to put another record out, but I wasn't thinking about the time frame or anything like that. I just had sketches for songs. And then what happened, sadly, is my dad passed away in June 26th last year, very unexpectedly. And everything stopped for me and life stopped. And I came back after the funeral because it was I don't know if you've been through something like that when it's a very shocking and quick death, but it's just, you come back and you're back in your real life after being at a funeral, after being at a sitting Shiva, which I don't know if you know what that is, but it's
No, I'm Jewish. I sat Shiva from my in-laws, so
yes. So the
I know the
7 day,
process.
very intense. And I came back and I was like, I don't want to deal with reality right now. I don't feel like myself. I don't feel like life. It's just an existential crisis in its deepest core, because my dad was like my best friend and my rock. So I kind of escaped into the studio, but the songs,
it kind of feels like you were adrift and your feelings just poured out of you.
Yes.
When you were in that studio space. And, it just, some of the songs just feel so honest and authentic.
Yes.
And it doesn't feel like you were just sort of, I'm trying to write a song. It was just, you were just talking to yourself. Hoping This Day Won't Kill Us is a song that you can talk into a mirror after a tragedy like that,
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that song up, because, that is such a culmination of some of those moments in that week. And it combines a lot of things that, people go through. It doesn't, mourning is such an interesting concept, because it doesn't always have to do with death of a human. It could be the end of a relationship. It could be divorce. It could be the end of a friendship, the end of a job, the end of, we mourn all the time, little things. And some of those days of sadness are just so heavy. You just don't even know how you're going to wake up.
Right. No, I get that. That's that's a theme throughout the album. And the great thing about this is you're not just expressing your sadness, but you're also expressing your anger and your hope at the same, within the same album. It's not like what I would call a downer album, although it does have serious down moments. The thing that I loved about this is the fact that you did have, the anger coming out on really bad day. I heard the previous album. If you don't mind me saying, I loved a lot of the music there, but it felt like you were holding back sometimes, particularly on. I'm trying to get to the album that you had.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
On Dreams of Restless Youth, there's a song that you do called Heavy and Abusive. And I'm waiting for you to like belt out and do a Joan Jett scream in that. And instead it's harmony. It's harmonies that are in there instead of like, what I was expecting. So, as much as I love the harmonies, and my favorite song off of that album is Better Off Meditating. Great lyrics there. I love that.
Thank you.
But, I said, she's holding something back. There's a lot of pensive, repressed feelings in that album, and it's not fully coming out on this album. On with tragic endings and start at the end, it comes out. And that's why I
Yes.
was so impressed. And
Oh.
you got me as a fan because I really loved the songwriting as well as all the instrumentation, the guitar work. Shout out to your guitarist. Who,
Oh, so many. I had a Rob Rom,
yep.
Chris Davies again, and Chris Marsteller this time. So I had three players this time. Yeah.
Yeah, they were excellent, and I think maybe it was Rob Wrong on one of the songs. He sounds a lot like, almost like Don Felder, Joe Walsh, Eagles style guitar, especially with the twang and
Yes, thank
it,
you. On
it
Sweet
just
Relief,
gets
on
there.
Sweet Relief, probably.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
told him, I said, I want you to vibe on, the Stones and, Coming Down Again. You know that song is like coming down again. And
Yeah,
I was really vibing on the Stones on that one and just said, just do your thing. And it's so beautiful. And I feel so fortunate to know so many musicians. That's the nice thing when you get older and you've had all these, band situations and musicians that you've met, you can call them and say, hey, you want to play on something? And if they have time, and they like the song, that's really the key. And it's so funny that you say that about Heavy and Abusive, because something about my personality in general is I do hold back. I tend to be in my id of my mind where I'm like going to say something, but then I'm thinking, well, what is that person going to think of me before I even say it? I'm very
that's
self-aware and self-conscious all the time about how I'm coming across. And when you're in a relationship, and again, the Restless Dreams of Youth is about looking back
right.
and about thinking about your life and those moments where you really are nervous about telling somebody the truth or telling somebody how you feel, and I appreciate what you said about start at the end, because I sat there at the computer in my little home studio and I was like, I'm not even going to censor myself. In fact, the song that was directly about my dad's death,
Mhm.
I almost didn't put on the record because I thought it was just like too much. But then the more I listened to it, the more it sort of had like a sing-songy, weird, like a music box thing to it, even though the lyrics were dark,
Right.
and a couple people were like, you got to put that on. I mean, you have to,
Yeah.
So, and it's
Yeah.
not long. It's not a long
No,
song.
and that's another great thing about the music that you put out in this album, and even your previous album. The songs don't go for like 3 or 4 or 5 verses. They get to the point, which
Yeah.
as a power pop guy, that's something I love. It's something that keeps me engaged.
Yes.
And just like you said, as far as like being pensive, that first song, "Your Permission," is very much like, I don't really want to say this, but I gotta let it out. That kind of
Yes.
feeling,
Yes. That's
and that just
exactly
sort of
it.
sets the tone for the whole album. And I liked a lot more songs on this album than I did on Restless Dreams of Youth.
Okay,
I
you're
thought
gonna
they
make
were.
me cry. You're gonna make me cry because I need to
No,
tell you, Aaron, I
yeah.
literally had like a meltdown because before this came out, and my family can attest to this, I was like
Mhm.
in tears and crying, like, this isn't going to be as good. It's not going to have the same effect. People aren't going to like it as much. And so I understand that sophomore slump, even though I am just an independent artist, you still think of these things when people like your first record, like, what are they going to think of this? And this is what I'm getting more and more of, is that this one digs a little deeper, and that people are going back to it in a way that they love the first record, but this one is like, okay, I'm going to listen to that again because that was really intense, and
Yeah,
that's awesome.
it's not just that. It's not just that you're doing more intense, which it is. It's a little more on the edges, it's of the emotions than it is on the your first album. But also songs like the big hit, I think, is "Tragic
Yeah.
Endings," and
Yes.
that the production in that, the layered composition is really what wins me over, and it'll win anybody over. I think, because
Thank
it
you.
sounds like a big hit, even though it's from the heart. And it's you sort of came together. That's sort of like where everything hits all the right notes, all the right, cues. Everything works for that song.
Oh,
I
it's
also
awesome.
really liked, the other songs there. Wrong Information was really cool. I kind of like that. And Sweet Relief, of course, with
Yeah.
that twang guitar. I
Yeah.
like the fact that you kind of go up and down with the emotions. Like I said, you don't stay in that sad space. As much as I love the acoustic, the acoustic, just in a room with an acoustic guitar by itself and letting that song and that emotion come out, you can only deal with so much of that in one album. And I'm glad that you varied that, all the
Thank
way
you.
through.
Yes, I was like, okay, so I put Real Bad Day on there because it's a song that I had in my pocket for a while. So it wasn't written for this album. But I felt exactly like you did. Like, okay, I can't put another sad song on right now. I need something fun. And the
Right.
thing about that song is it's really to my mom. It's
Right.
how somebody feels when they're having a bad day. Oftentimes they want that love from their mom, that hugs and those special moments with your mom that they're going to treat you like, oh, my baby, and because my dad's not around anymore, I felt that was a sweet tribute to her. And also the thing, that first line is, I want to write a happy song. It's like, it so rings true to me so much because at some point when you are mourning, you get tired of it. To be honest, you get mentally and physically exhausted, and you actually need a respite. You know what I mean? A respite, or however you put it.
Respite. So let me ask you
Yes,
about another song, "Dandelions in My Flower Bed." That was another
yes,
one. That was one of my favorites, also, because
yes,
it's bright, it's poppy, it bounces. It's
yes,
almost like you exhaled, and now you're taking that next step. Or
yes.
is that what that is about, or how was that put together?
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that because that's a purely new song, and it was written for this record. Well, okay, so there's a situation that happens, and part of my personality is always, I feel like I'm a fixer. Like I need to fix things. I need to make things better. I need to um, and I go in and I insert myself in situations to try to fix things because I hate conflicts and I hate problems.
Right.
And there was a conflict and an issue that was going on. And I said, what would I don't know, what would a person do who was super trained in like Taoism, like what would they do in a situation that's stressful and feels like you want to solve it? I said, what if I just stepped back and let fate and destiny take its toll, and something's got to happen whether I do something or not. And I was like, you're going to laugh, but the Eching is something that I actually did. I don't know if you've ever done the Eching,
I've
but
heard of it.
you roll the pennies
Right.
and they make these trigrams and hexagram things, and they all have meaning to it. And you're going to laugh, but the number was calculated waiting. And that's a lyric in the song, and I was like, oh my god, that's what I should do in this situation. I'm just gonna just calculated waiting, and whatever destiny takes, it will take. And I got to tell you, it was the best decision I made, because in that situation, I would have been at fault if I would have tried to fix a problem. And I learned so much from writing that song. I learned from my songs, to be honest with you, but I was like, this is a good rule of thumb, because
Right.
sometimes when you push harder, you become the point person of the conflict when you didn't start it to begin with. And the dandelions in the flower bed, it's like you're going to do something that's kind of a waste of time just to like blow steam. You're also planting dandelions, which is a silly thing to do, and at the same time, like, why not? I mean, it's a good thing to, like, there's no reason to not just plant dandelions in the flower bed, be on my merry way, let destiny like do its thing with the other people, and I will come out of this not guilty.
Right.
You know?
Guy got it. Speaking of lyrics, I did have a question. Somebody wrote about your first album, and they basically said that there's sort of an admiration to for Neil Peart from Rush.
Oh,
And yeah, and so tell me a little bit about like how that came about. Was that like something coded that the reviewer found, or it's just like
no, no,
you
no.
let him know?
No, the title of the album. I can tell you're not a Rush fan, but that's okay. I'm not judging you.
Yeah,
Um,
no,
the,
I like
the
Rush. I'm not a huge fan. I do love their big hits though.
Yes. So, and you might know the song. So the album, The Restless Dreams of Youth, is actually a Rush lyric from their song Subdivisions
Yeah,
off of Signals.
I know the
And it,
subdivisions. I don't know the lyrics by heart. So there you
so
go.
it yes, so in the chorus, he says the suburbs have no charms to soothe the restless dreams of youth. And I'm a big Rush fan, so it's not necessarily Neil Peart. It's just, but although I don't know, he could have written those lyrics. I'm not sure, but I loved that sentiment of like, okay, I have restless dreams all the time. Sometimes they are about my youth, and sometimes when I was younger, I was restless too. So it's a looking forward, looking back kind of thing. And when I was putting that album together, I was like, this is and Subdivisions is literally in my top like 20 songs of all time songs.
You could have made the album. You could have titled the album, "Be Cool or Be Cast Out." You could have done that. You couldn't have done the chorus. I mean, I think it's an awesome little thing too that speaks to your personality and your what you like and bands that influenced you as well, which I think is pretty cool. So now that this album is out, it's coming out. Are you and COVID's sort of on the wane. They're getting rid of the mask mandates for just about everywhere, even on airplanes now.
No.
Is there any thought to supporting this album by doing any live performances?
So we've been playing. Actually, The Restless Dreams of Youth was nominated for Best Album of the Year and Best Pop Album. And it was last night. I didn't win, but we got to play. It was really fun.
Where was it nominated?
San Diego.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we've been playing out quite a bit. Actually, this Saturday, we're playing for Record Store Day at a really cool record store here in town, a very beloved record store called Vinyl Junkies. And then actually, you will be pleased to hear this, although it's not on the East Coast, but we are playing International Pop Overthrow here in San Diego.
Wonderful.
And
great. My friend Dave Bash would be glad to hear that as well.
And in LA. So both of them.
Great. Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yes.
Well, I know you'll do fabulous, and you'll love the festival. So
yes,
more power to you on that for sure.
Is that your real background, or am I? Is
not quite. My real background is much messier.
I like messy though. That's cool.
It's still got all the records. It's just like it just looks like a bomb hit it.
Wow, when you're looking for that one album and you're like,
right, exactly. I have a system. Don't touch anything. So I mean that's really all she wrote. I appreciate your time, Tamar, and thanks so much. And please, everyone, please check out the album, which is Start at the End. You can start at the end and then go back to her first album.
Thank you. Yes.
Dream Juice and and you can listen to both albums. I highly recommend both. They both have great songs in them. Check them out. Obviously, IPO. Tamar,
Bandcamp. It's on Bandcamp, and there's vinyl and CDs. Limited print run though, and also it's officially out 4/22. So I don't know when this is going to air.
Well, this will come out right around that time. So
nice.
We'll tell people, hey, just came out. I mean, the review's out there already for me, but this interview's not far behind. So
yay. Thank you, Aaron. I'm so happy. Sometimes you hear about people that are going to like it through other people, and you never know. You reach out blindly. And it's so nice to meet you, and so cool that you like my music, and just like, hey, I feel like we're friends. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Keep us informed when you make a follow-up to this. And I'm
Yes,
sure you're still writing songs. Everybody I know who, was sort of, you know, in COVID isolation basically ended up doing albums and albums worth of songwriting.
I know. I know. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff came out. It was a very rich time, and emotionally too. What's going on in the world, what's going on internally. It's just so much. So some great stuff happening right now with music. So it's an exciting time, I think.
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Tamar. I appreciate it. Take care and
Okay.
best of luck.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.